And what's going on, everybody? This is Dan French here, and this is the French Workbench podcast. We have a special guest today. His name is Hsieh. He's from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, and we're going to bring Hsieh in here very shortly. Also, I have in studio my good friend Joey Andron. He's team lead. He's somebody that is a really seasoned real estate agent. He's got a lot of good insight on things. So I want to introduce Joey really quick. Joey, what's going on today, buddy?
What's up, Dan?
Not much, man. We got Hsieh on. We're going to talk about what's happening across the country, across the city, and see what he has to say about all the new things that's going on. I know we have a lot of things. We're going to talk today about really Smith's that's expanding. We have Smith's stores. There's a couple of them. One in Cadence. It's going to produce a lot of jobs. We also have. We're going to talk a lot about the properties and the value of land that goes on in Summerlin. And we're also going to talk about what's happening in the real estate world. Also, we're going to bring him on about talk about Tony Hsieh and what's happening with his estate. And so we got a lot of good information on. We're also going to talk about real estate in general from your perspective. And, you're Chuckett's team lead now, and I think you have a lot of good insight about what's happening. So I want to bring you on and just kind of talk with him. So let's see if we could bring Hsieh on. Eli, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
Hey, Dan, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Good, man. So Hsieh, if you want to give you guys a quick rundown. Yeah, want to give you guys a quick rundown of who Hsieh is. He's somebody that's been he's been with Las Vegas Review-Journal for quite a bit, pretty long time now. And we used to have him on a radio show when we did KDWN. And one of the things that I always got from him was the fact that people used to tell me that he speaks really well. He's somebody that has a lot of knowledge that's going on. And, I don't know, man. Do you have a lot of people that have connections with you? Like, how do you get this information? I know it's obviously we can't talk about what you do and how you have these people, but you have a lot of people you talk to about how you get these stories out, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've been, I moved to Vegas in 2012 and I've been covering real estate out here ever since. And so it's just, meeting people in the industry, different parts of the real estate industry, because, I cover residential and commercial. So I talk to a lot of brokers and developers and people on the financing side of things, and, different aspects of the whole industry. So yeah, it's just meeting people over the years and talking to people and, hearing what's going on out there from people who work in the industry.
So some of the things that I see coming on here, Eli, and, with us coming on and trying to get this information about all the changes that's going on in Las Vegas, we know a lot of people, it seems like the economy here in Vegas is really starting to thrive. I don't know if you see that too. The Strip seems like it's starting to really start to pop again. And, people are going back to work. I know it's slow. It's a very slow process. What are you seeing on that?
Yeah, I mean, basically, the economy is definitely recovered a number of the jobs, several, a lot of the jobs that it lost once the pandemic hit, but it's still in pretty rough shape overall. I mean, if you look at the numbers, like going into the pandemic, Vegas's unemployment rate was a little under 4%. It was really good. The economy was really strong. Real estate market was doing pretty well, residential and commercial. We had billions of dollars worth of projects underway, mostly on the Strip, but also a lot of stuff going on outside the Strip. And then, boom, the pandemic hits and everyone's life is turned upside down. And, it's this whole crazy, insane situation. And, the Strip shut down, obviously. And, our unemployment rate in Vegas was at a peak in April. It was 34%, which is really just astounding when you think about that 1 out of 3 people had lost their job at one point, which is really just absolutely devastating on so many levels. And, it's definitely come down a lot since then. But as of December, the unemployment rate was still a little above 10%, which is, clearly more than double what it was before the pandemic hit. And it was still the highest in the nation among large metro areas. So you're right. I mean, the economy has definitely clawed its way back, from the depths of the pandemic-related chaos that we saw out here. But we still have a ways to go. If you look at the visitor totals from the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, we're still down about 50% year over year when it comes to tourism levels that we have here in Vegas. The convention industry has basically been totally dark since March. I think there have been only 1 or 2 conventions that have been held at all since then. I think maybe just one that's been held in Vegas since March. and it wasn't even that big because of capacity restrictions and fears of COVID and all that. So we still have a ways to go, and a lot of it's going to depend on, when the pandemic is finally done and stamped out, and when COVID is a thing of the past, and also when people feel safe to travel again. Because as we all know, even though like you and a lot of your listeners work in real estate, tourism is the main financial engine out here. That is what drives Vegas. It's what keeps the lights on. And until people feel safe to travel again, and until people start having conventions like they used to have before COVID, the economy is not going to make a full recovery.
Are we back at? Are we at 25% capacity? Or are we at 35 now?
I think it's actually up to, it's 35 or maybe even it's approaching 50. I thought. I have to check. I know Governor Hsieh made an announcement about that a couple weeks ago. So you have to forgive me. I don't remember what the ceiling is on that, because I didn't cover the story, so I don't remember the exact details. But I know for a while it was at 25 for casinos and restaurants and everything. But he did lift it. I think it's at 35, and I think it's with room to grow up to 50 at a certain point.
Yeah, I know we got a nice little boost there. I'll tell you, I was at Mon Ami Gabi with my wife and some family members that came into town yesterday. I'll tell you, the whole terrace was packed.
Yeah.
Mon Ami was packed. Next door at Hex, packed. There was a lot of people out and about on the street. I don't know if this has to do maybe with spring break, but there were a lot of people out on the street, which was nice to see.
Yeah. And I think that, you walk around and you start to see the vibe. I feel like it's just the energy level at a lot of these places that when you go out, like we go to Town Square a lot more activity. Eli, you guys obviously started working from home because you're a journalist, right? Correct? Yeah. And so, right. And so when you guys started working from home, is this now something where you're going to be staying at home now, even though things are starting to get back? I see a lot of people that are presenting letters to me and stuff where they can work from home now. So,
yeah, I mean, I've personally been working from home since mid-March. So it's approaching, it's almost a full year of working from home now for me and for other people in the newsroom at the RJ. Every company is going to be different. Every company that's based in an office, they're going to be different. I mean, my experience just reporting on the office market is that the smaller the company is, the more likely it is that they've already returned back to their office. If it's a larger company, like if it's a local office of a national company or even a multinational company, they're more likely than not still working remotely, working from home. So it all depends on, on each company and what their policies are. For us, we at the RJ, we don't have a scheduled return date yet. I know the hope is, as of a couple of weeks ago, last I heard, is that hopefully we'd be going back, maybe this fall. But I don't know. I haven't heard lately about when we're going back to the office. So,
do you think this is going to open up the door to commercial opportunities, like office space?
Well, it's funny, with the office market, because you still see some projects being built. Like the biggest one is it's called Uncommons. It's down at Durango and 215 on south of the freeway on the other side from IKEA. That is going to have hundreds of thousands of square feet of office space. That's a 40-acre, $400 million project, mostly office. And the developers, they definitely they broke ground several months. I think it was like maybe 4 months later than they initially planned because of all the chaos from the pandemic. But that project is now coming out of the ground. They're building the parking structures over there right now. And those developers are very bullish on the office market. They feel that people have been cooped up for so long that people are going to be desperately wanting to get back into the office at some point and stop working from home. And also that a lot of companies are going to want to be in that environment where everyone's in the same building, everyone's under the same roof, and it's just easier to work together and whatnot when you're in the same office together. Now, obviously,
I truly hope so. I truly hope so. I mean, everyone's got to go back to some sort of normalcy,
right?
But in hindsight, it's kind of opened up the door for a lot of opportunities in the real estate market, right?
Yeah.
Now we're seeing, like you mentioned, people, all they have to do is submit a letter from HR that they can work anywhere in the country.
Yeah,
and they can float around.
And so, and he's right, Eli. I mean, you got a lot of people that are buying residential properties. That's what we do. So they're using letters and they're working from home.
Yeah.
Remember back when it was like 2007, 8, and 9, there was a situation where we had a lot of commercial buildings where they were started and then they stopped.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of people thinking, well, the commercial sector is going to actually suffer. What are your thoughts? Do you think it's with this whole thing coming back now, we're not going to ever see something where we did where there's like I saw businesses half started, where they went in there and they started the sign and they, started moving stuff in, and all of a sudden it's like, well, we're not gonna pursue this.
Yeah, I mean, as you I'm sure remember, and a lot of your listeners remember, Vegas was kind of a wasteland of abandoned real estate projects for a while there
Yeah.
after the real estate bubble burst. And so, like when I moved here in 2012, they were kind of all over the place. Half built condo projects. The Echelon was still on the strip. It was still just a skeleton of a project. What's now downtown Summerlin was just kind of like a steel skeleton sitting off the side of the Beltway.
Yeah.
There were a lot of abandoned projects, but that was because as you guys all know, the economy had totally cratered because of the real estate crash, and funding had just evaporated. And with this though, this wasn't an economic crisis, as we all know. This was a public health crisis, and
Right.
so it's different. I mean, the job losses that we've had have been actually significantly worse than what Vegas ever saw at the peak of the Great Recession, but it was for very different reasons. And so there are definitely some projects out there around the valley that have either stalled or stopped because either directly or indirectly because of the pandemic. Probably the best known example is a project that was a victim of the last recession, which was the Fontainebleau. That project got stalled, went bankrupt, and sat there for years after the Great Recession, and now it's stalled again. Actually, about a year ago, the then owner of the project suspended construction because of all the turmoil from the pandemic. So that's probably the best. And the Fontainebleau actually got sold about a month ago, but that's probably the best known example. But we're not seeing just the sheer magnitude of abandoned half built projects kind of scarring the valley like we did a dozen years ago.
Yeah. Are they moving forward with that project, The Bend?
Yeah.
Is it called The Bend?
Yeah, The Bend. Yeah, the developer is Jay Dapper. Yeah, as far as I know, that project is still, in the pipeline to be built, but that is one that has not shown much, if any, progress lately. But I do know that. I mean, I drive by there every once in a while, and I think in the last few months I've seen some heavy equipment pushing dirt around and whatnot. But I don't think last I drove by there, they definitely had not gone vertical on it yet. But as far as I know, that project is still a go. It's just a matter of when.
Mm-hmm.
I want to show something really quick. So Eli, they can't see you right now, but they're going to see the website that you have. And I want to go down here. This is Eli Segall. We're talking here, Las Vegas Review Journal. And he's got a lot of articles that he's written here, and we want to go over a few of them. And one of the ones I want to talk about is, it says, Las Vegas home prices set all-time high in February. A lot of people think that these homes are going to continue to go up. And then there's some people that think it's, we're going to maybe go through a regression or recession because we're still not where we need to be. And a lot of people think that the economy is going to somewhat, I wouldn't say collapse, but it's going to go the other direction. I can't tell you how many calls I get or people talk to me about that and say, when's that going to happen? When's that crystal ball where these properties are going to start to come down? I think interest rates going up. I want to know what your thoughts are with this article and kind of explain what this article is about.
I mean, this article is based on the latest monthly report from Las Vegas Realtors, the local trade association. And what they reported is that, the median sales price for a single family house in February hit another all-time high at, I think it was like $355,000. And the main factor behind, by all accounts,
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't seen any indications that the market is slowing down in any significant way or really in any way at all. Now, will it slow down at some point? Sure. And how's that going to look? I mean, I have no way to predict it, whether it's going to crash and burn or slowly decelerate and just kind of ease its way back into a more normal, more normal setting. I have no idea what's going to happen. I mean, certainly no one could have predicted that the market would be as heated as it is right now, given how badly the economy has been hit. That's really just taken, I think, everybody by surprise. So, how's it going to end? I don't know. I think maybe possibly if interest rates start kind of steadily going up, you might see price growth steadily start to tap the brakes a little bit. But that's just a guess. I mean, there's really no way to tell.
For some reason they can't hear you at this time. I mean, they were here.
Back.
Oh, he's back. Okay, good. I think there's a small delay because we're actually going outside of this office or outside the studio. So no problem. You're back. We're good. So
Wait, do you think that this is really creating like a huge, like a frenzy in people? So people are anticipating rates going up, prices are going up. That means that people are going to be able to afford less home.
I don't know.
So people are trying to
I know what you mean.
It's a good question.
If people are feeling like this itch to go buy because they're worried that rates are going to go up, but I don't know. I think anecdotally, I wouldn't rule it out that there are some people out there who feel that way. But as to how like widespread that is, I don't know. I don't know if there's really any way to
that was me.
Accurately,
right? I felt that way.
Eli, you think this? I feel like this is a different vibe though than the last issue we had with the housing market. Like there's a different vibe. It seems like they're worried, but it doesn't seem like it was before where people were losing their homes and businesses were shutting down. And I don't know, to me, I think there's going to be a really quick recovery, but what are your thoughts? Do you think this is similar to what it was before, or is it just a complete different animal?
Well, it's a very different situation because also right now there's a foreclosure moratorium. So people can't lose their houses to foreclosure because there are government orders basically barring that right now.
Yeah.
There have been statewide there was a statewide foreclosure moratorium that I believe ended in the fall, but just recently the Biden administration announced protections for homeowners from losing their house to foreclosure. I think for federally guaranteed mortgages, or at least for certain federally backed loans.
Sure.
Which covers I think the majority of homeowners out there.
Yeah.
So
I think that's going to go through to the end of the year.
I forget the date, but I think the one. Well, I can't remember off the top of my head how long the protections are for. But you didn't see that last time. I think there was. I think the biggest thing that the state did during the Great Recession was the robo-signing law, which definitely slowed. It definitely slowed I think for maybe a month or two, it basically stopped all foreclosures because banks had to learn how to comply with all these new paperwork requirements. But I don't think there was any outright ban or moratorium on foreclosures. It was just, if memory serves me right, at that time, it was a new law that basically said banks had to provide this paperwork under penalty of perjury. And so they had to make sure that all their documents were correct and current, but there was no freeze on foreclosures like we have now. So it's a very different situation.
So you write a lot about what's happening with the Smiths. I want just a very concise, what's happening. Smiths is opening up a couple of these new stores, right? Creating a lot of opportunities for people to get some employment, right? Yeah.
So Smiths, they just announced that they're building what's called a Smiths Marketplace, which is I think 120,000 something square foot.
That's big, man.
It's huge. Yeah, it's 3 times the size of their regular grocery store. Out in Cadence in Henderson.
Yeah.
And they bought this land actually back in the fall of 2016, so they've been sitting on the dirt for a while, but they just broke ground, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
A site to build a logistics facility.
Also, too, so we're just trying to give some information that's going on around the city I think it's a lot of good stuff that people want to know. There's a lot of people that move from out of state, and so they want to know what's happening around the city, right? They want to know the details, what opportunities are there, jobs and stuff. But we also go back into, people that maybe have had a part in, this whole thing with setting up downtown. We had talk about Tony Hsieh, right? So you brought this up. A lot of people have, looked at Tony Hsieh as being somebody as a pioneer a little bit on setting up downtown. He's created a lot of opportunities down there, and it seems like he's the one that really thrived in making downtown, or at least getting it started. So he recently had an issue, right? We obviously know he passed away, rest in peace. But I guess there's something going on where you wrote about his family is selling his estate. Is that right? Or what's going on with that?
Yeah. So his father and brother, one of his brothers, they basically oversee his estate because Tony did not leave a will when he died, and so his estate is being settled through probate court right now.
Isn't that amazing?
Through a probate case, yeah. So
oh my God.
So it's all going through probate, and his family, the dad, his father, and his brother, they have now filed more than 100 notices of sale to unload basically all of his Las Vegas real estate holdings. And they're, as far as I know, it's all of it, or at least virtually all of it. And it's centered heavily around the Fremont Street area. And it's, vacant lots, apartment buildings, office buildings, downtown container park, Zappos' headquarters, which Tony bought actually like about a month before he died. And just a ton of parcels all around the Fremont Street area. And then that was in mid-February that they filed all those notices. And then just on Friday of last week, they filed another, I think it was 19 notices to sell all of his real estate in Utah, because he owned a ton of houses out in Park City and a bunch of, I think some vacant lots out in Park City too. Then he also owned this ranch about 25 miles north of St. George. And so those were the next batch of sale notices. But yeah, they're looking to sell just this huge.
Like how does that affect downtown now?
Yeah.
You had such a pioneer, such an advocate of bringing life back to downtown, and now he's gone. Now they're going to sell off his portfolio of properties.
Yeah.
To what? Individual investors, to
it's crazy, right?
Somebody else who can see the vision.
Well, all these deals are subject to court confirmation, and I haven't seen anything in the court filings that show that anyone has reached an agreement to buy any of these.
Yeah.
One buyer to come in and take everything. The expectation, at least among the people I've interviewed, is that you're going to see multiple buyers come forward and try and pick off, different parcels here and there. And again, it depends on what they want to do with it. And then once we start to see those plans either filed with the city or whoever, then I think we'll be able to gauge the impact. But at the very least, this could, from people I've spoken with, this could really open the door to seeing, a bunch of new developers and new ideas and new money coming into downtown. That's I think what a lot.
I truly hope so.
That's what people expect.
Let's face it, downtown needs it. Downtown needs to be revitalized. I mean, it's off to like a great start. There's some, some really cool restaurants that have opened up. There's been like that hipster kind of vibe, which is kind of neat, but it definitely needs to be cleaned up a little bit more, a little bit more vibrant,
Eli, I go down there, not frequently, but I go down there and we take my son and we go down there and we just hang out sometimes. Do you guys go down there as a family, or do you go down there at all? I know you probably go down there to report, do maybe some reporting or whatever, but do you take your family down there too?
Yeah. I mean, when I do go downtown, 9 times out of 10 it's work related, and I'm down there for check out properties or interview people or whatever. But yeah, I mean, my wife and daughter and I, we go down there sometimes on the weekend just to go to Ferguson's or go get something to eat or something like that. But as far as like going down there just on my off time, it's not really not super often or anything, but we do go down there. Yeah.
Okay, I was going to ask you one thing too. Is what are your thoughts on 2021? What do you think is going to happen with the economy here? Do you think that it's going to take a year or two to get back on our feet, or do you think it's going to happen a little bit quicker than that?
I don't know. It's tough to say how long it's going to take. I haven't seen any indication that, I haven't heard, let's put it this way. I haven't heard from anybody who thinks that Vegas is just going to kind of snap its fingers and be back to where we were before the pandemic. I think a lot of it depends on how quickly, the virus is eradicated, and,
Sure.
And how long it takes before the virus is no longer a public health threat. And also how long it takes before people feel comfortable to travel again like they used to, and be comfortable boarding planes and being packed in on an airplane like a sardine and traveling across the country and staying in a big hotel and, wanting to be around lots of people, like, which is basically what Vegas's economy is built on. It's just bringing in the masses to party and gamble and eat and, and just be in big groups of people all at once. So obviously there are visitors coming here. We've got tourists coming, every week, and that it certainly hasn't stopped or anything. But are we going to get back? How long will it take before we get back?
Yeah, it's like how fast is this going to get back to where we want it to be?
I don't know.
Let's be honest too. I mean, the casinos, they're struggling a little bit, and they were giving discounts and incentives for people to go down and stay in their hotels, and so I don't know. I mean, are they struggling? You got to ask yourself that question. Like, are these casinos struggling right now? Like, are they just staying afloat where they're making just enough? I can't foresee how they're not losing money right now.
Yeah, they are.
I'm not.
No, they are losing money. I mean, they're all, a lot of the companies that operate here are publicly traded, and you can go to their website or go to SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission's website, and read their financial reports and their quarterly earnings and annual earnings. And yeah, they're I think, I can't think of one company off the top of my head that's posted a profit at all recently.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I don't report on the casino company's earnings, so I don't know their financials as well as some of the other reporters at the RJ. But I know that they're losing money for sure. I mean, how could they not be at this point? Until you see a full return to travel and convention business and all the stuff that used to happen before COVID came around. It's not unexpected that they're losing money.
Well, so we're going to let you go here. I know you're a busy person. One of the things that we bring you on here for is just some insight, also what's happening around the city, especially in the real estate world. I got a realtor here with me. And,
actually, can I pause you there for a second? Can I just ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Do you know the land out by Inspirada?
Yeah, I mean,
are you familiar with that area?
Yeah, sure.
So, are you familiar with the Hsieh plant that they're building out there?
Yeah.
With the Formula One? What else is going on around in that area?
There's a ton of stuff. I mean, that whole area is known as West Henderson, and there's I guess Inspirada is part of that, but I'm thinking more along the lines of, probably north of Via Inspirada, west to Las Vegas Boulevard,
right,
south of St. Rose, like that kind of big triangle area. And there's a ton of stuff going on. I mean, it's mostly, I think Hsieh is south of Via Inspirada, but it's still kind of in that vicinity. And there's just been a huge wave of development in the last 2-3 years out there, mostly industrial. You see a lot of warehouse projects that have been built out there, but you also see a lot of residential, a lot of single family. I think Lennar's got a couple projects out there. There have been a handful of new, upscale apartment complexes that have been built out there. The Raiders practice facility, that's probably the best known project out there. There's been a ton of stuff in that area. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always curious because I see them moving dirt. I live in Inspirada, so I've been following it, and Hsieh is pretty exciting. It's a pretty exciting addition to that area.
Yeah.
But they've been moving so much dirt, and because it's also zoned for hotel casino as well.
Yeah, so I heard Station owns land down there. I doubt they would build anything anytime soon on it, but
we did have NASCAR come through. That was a pretty successful venture, right? Wasn't it? I don't know if you even look into that, Eli, but it seemed like this was the first time that everybody was in person on a big event like that.
Yeah.
I mean, like 20%.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't crazy, but it was. They still still did it, so which is cool.
I knew they had it. I don't really keep tabs on sporting events.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if you guys want to get a hold of Eli Segall, he's got like I said, a lot of knowledge. He does a lot of articles. I'm not going to go over to this website, but you can find him on the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Every time we go over, Eli, to that, there's a small delay. I've been showing your image, and I've been showing your website consistently.
All right.
So there's no delays. I don't want to go back over, but you guys can find him, Las Vegas Review-Journal. great articles. He's really, and you really speak well, man. Every time I have you on here, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, you bet.
He makes us look good. Yeah. So, all right, Eli Segall, man. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Dan. Talk to you later.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk, man.
What's up?
Want to talk with you about a couple things that's happening around Vegas and happening with you, and some things that's happening with I don't know, like, let's just say the real estate world. So we have a show that we do, and we're not going to go into depth on this, and I'm not going to, but I want to know your experiences. I want to know your stories that you're going through right now. What are some of the challenges you're going through? We talk about where you got people that are doing lotteries and people doing crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So you run a team now. I mean,
Sure.
you're kind of Chuckett's right-hand person.
Yeah.
And so what are some of the challenges that you're seeing, especially not just from you, but maybe some of the people you work with?
Well, I was in a meeting today with one of my clients. She's moving out here from Seattle,
Okay.
and she needs to buy a house.
Okay.
Like really fast.
Okay.
And she's been watching Chuckett's videos for the past year, 2 years, and she was anticipating on seeing homes priced around 500,000, right? And was expecting a lot of availability. So we met in the office today, and we pulled up every home builder that she liked, and basically every single community was sold out.
Was sold out. She came in specifically to look at property today, and I was only able to show her one community and 2 floor plans. So that's where the challenge lies. It's all about the supply right now. So it's becoming very, very challenging for us as realtors to deliver on exactly what our clients are looking for. Not to say we don't deliver, but it just creates a little bit of a challenge when the lot releases are delayed. There's a waiting list. We have to, negotiate those muddy waters and able to get our clients in line, in position, and set them up for success, basically. So I think a lot of people want to know, like, the challenges that come in, right? What is the challenges that these people face? What I always get, what's around the neighborhood? What's around the schools? Like, is there schools that are really good schools, or where do I have to take my child if you have kids, right? Also, like, employment, how quick you are to, how quick, some people want to be isolated. Some people want to be close to the strip.
Right.
So what is some of those challenges that you get? A lot of people come in and they're not just getting the home, but what are the questions that they want to know about Vegas in general? And, like, what are some of the challenges, I guess, that you deal with?
Well, the challenge really is just about getting them what they want in the price range they're approved for. Yeah. Right. Because, I mean, let's face it, everything in this valley is only 15, 20 minutes away. Right. So it's very easily accessible. Right. Yeah. I can be in Inspirada to the northwest part of town, and it's 33 miles from tip to tip. Right. So that's really not the challenge. It's more of the challenge of pricing and availability in these other locations. Right. Obviously, families that are moving here from out of state, they're expecting to be in a very good school zone. Anything in the Inspirada area, that's southwest, the Summerlin, always going to have the highest school ratings.
Okay.
When you're kind of in the north to the east side, it becomes a little bit more challenging.
So for me, I just a lot of people, they come to me and they're like, "Well, I'm paying a premium for these lots." You deal with a lot of new home buyers, and some of these people don't understand, like, what the premiums are and what they're actually paying for. So a lot of times when it's a lot that's supposedly a premium, they pay $20,000, $30,000 more. Is there really some options out there for people where when they go buy a new home, is it they just have to really, go with whatever the builder tells them? Because having a realtor and going to buy a new home, if you have somebody that's advocating for you and you're trying to discuss options and things like that, is there a way where it's like, we can get around those types of obstacles? Because I think a lot of people they're just here and they're like, there are a lot of people coming from out of state, even if they're upgrading, they don't know some of those options that's available to them, or do they have to pay it in this market? Because this market is just, the seller wins, right? Yeah. The builder wins. It doesn't really matter. If you want the house, we hold the keys, and if you want it, you got to abide by what we say. Yeah.
I mean, look, when they only release so many home sites, you're put in a position to say, hey, look, I either need to move forward with my decision, or I can wait it out, right? But having somebody on your side as an advocate can really, direct you in the right way. Because if there's an upcoming lot release, we can get on a waiting list. Or, sometimes there's a fallout for the lot that you wanted, or could afford. Right. Right. So we need to, we have those discussions internally and gather all the information so we're prepared to make that decision. But if you have to bite the bullet and spend, you know, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on a lot premium, then we can go backwards and start building that house and start selecting the things that are important to the buyer as far as structural options, the design center options, and kind of make that fit within the price range.
Being a realtor too, you get to know people for quite a long time.
Very long time.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? I mean,
so some I consider family now.
Yeah, it's because you're literally, you know, you're constantly talking with them for what, 6, 7, 8 months. You're going through this process with them. It's not just one; it's quite a few people, and they do the final walkthrough. They're asking for your advice. They're asking for information. Same with Chuck. And so it's different because I think these people start to get to know you. They start to become familiar with you, and then it's almost like you said, it's family. So I get a lot of people that are say, hey, you know what? When we close, we're going to do barbecues.
Yeah.
Do a lot of your people like become acquaintances?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say, right? I mean,
yeah.
So
we get invites to things all the time. Go grab a beer with somebody.
Yeah.
My clients. Yeah.
It's the best world of being a realtor, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's great. So going back, if you talk about some of these challenges, is there any other challenges maybe that you can think of recently that you guys had to overcome? Like, for instance, maybe it's the agents, because I know you oversee some people now, right? And you have your own book of business or your own deals that you're doing. Do you have issues, though? Not issues, but do you have challenges where, especially in the existing world and things like that, that you're trying to accommodate people and they just they go away sometimes frustrated? Yeah.
Listen, I mean, we can only do the best that we can, and we can only present what's available, you know? So sometimes, like I said, you know, this business is all about managing expectations, especially in this market. So we do the best that we can. You know, sometimes people get frustrated because we've submitted multiple offers and we're always in a highest and best situation.
Yeah.
For instance, over the weekend, I submitted an offer with a client that I've been working for since October of last year, and multiple offer. We were over $15,000 above list price, and we were going to let the seller occupy the property for the full month of April for free, and we got beat out.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
So it's like, how much more? And now, even if you offer $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, right? If you're coming up with cash out of your pocket, you know, if you have it and you want to do it, that's fantastic. But now what we're experiencing is appraisal issues, right? So now it's like you have to waive the appraisal contingency.
Wow. So they're going so high that the appraisal is not coming in. And obviously appraisers they take a scope of what the other areas in the surrounding areas of what those homes sold for. They're going way above. So now it's the challenges of trying to get and meeting the appraisal.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a pretty big hurdle. So people are really willing to sign that?
Yeah, 100%. Just to get the house. So I'll give you an example. So during this meeting today, we did a search for a resale, 3,000 square feet between 400,000 and 500,000, 4-bedroom home, 8 properties on the market.
Oh my gosh.
There was only 8.
That's crazy.
Only 8. So, well, let me back up. That was from 2018 to 2020. So we were looking for a newer home, but nonetheless, only 8 homes to choose from.
Yeah.
So when you only have 8, you're creating this, it's almost like a knife fight to get a property. I mean, you have to be aggressive to get these properties. Relationships with the listing agent also helps, because sometimes they give you a little bit of insight to where you need to be.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't. But it's one of those, it's a case by case basis.
I know a lot of people generally want to come out here and they think that, well, Vegas is going to be that used to be in the past. It was an easy way to get into the market. And, you know, if you had cash and you had money, but that's kind of like that's not something that's even guaranteed anymore, because people that come in with cash, somebody's willing to go above $25,000, $30,000 above list price. And who's winning? It's the seller and the builder.
Yeah.
And so if the builder's saying, I'm going to give you a property, let's say you win the lottery, right? You're one of those people, and now you're negotiating what the sales price is. If somebody comes in and says, you know what, we're going to sell it to you for this, the builder are they the ones jacking the price up? I mean, they're the ones. And so they know that if it's not going to appraise, are you willing to go ahead and remove that? Where if the appraisal comes in low, you're going to still pay that.
Right.
It's just all profit now for them.
And there's language in the builder contract that states that if it does not appraise, you are responsible for the difference. And if you can't close, they get to retain their deposits.
That's amazing to me, man. So what do you think is going to happen right now? We got rates going up. We're not going to go into detail, but as far as Las Vegas, okay, I
think it's full steam ahead.
Yeah, you don't think it's going to be stagnant though? Like it's going to. No,
I don't.
Okay. I always thought that.
I'm pretty optimistic though. I've always been pretty optimistic.
Well, you are. You're an optimistic person, but I think that it's what I'm seeing and what the stuff I'm looking at. We still don't have the same tourists coming to Las Vegas, right? We don't have the same people coming down to the Strip. That's where our bread and butter is at. A lot of construction jobs here and things like that, but that's our bread and butter. The reality though is are we going to get back on track this year or next year, or is it going to be something where it's a long drawn out process, or is it going to be very quick and it's just 6 months from now?
I think we're going to get back on track towards the end of the year. I mean, look, we went from 20% or 25% to 35% occupancy, and when I went out yesterday, there were people everywhere. All the restaurants were packed.
Yeah.
Everything with the patios, beautiful outside. Everybody was outside.
Right.
Yeah. So people want to get out. So as they increase the occupancy, people will fill those seats. Right. Yeah. And we talk about tourism. We talk about the native person from Las Vegas. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Unfortunately, we have all of these people are working in the industry, or a big portion of them work in the industry. Right. But we have to remember that there's so many people. We have such a huge outside influence that's driving this market. We're not just depending on the people that have lived in Las Vegas for the past 20 years and expect them to buy homes at these prices, right? They're probably getting priced out of the market, or, maybe they can't afford it. I don't know. But the people that are driving this market are from out of state that are moving here, and they're creating their own business. They can work remotely. They're getting a paycheck. They're supporting their local businesses. So I don't, the whole thing of, are we going to get back? Is the Strip going to get back eventually? But I don't see our market collapsing. I mean, you do loans. You see, I'm in one right now, and I see how tight they are on documentation. So with that being said, it's just not anybody coming to buy a house like back in 2008, right?
Yeah.
People, I was a bus boy who was buying 3 houses, interest only loans. It's those days are over. So these are end users that are going to be living as a primary residence. So I think this economy, or at least this local market here, is going to be stabilized.
Do you think that end it this way? So we know we deal with a lot of new homes. Existing homes aren't on the market. I'm hoping that rates increasing is going to slow down that process. People are going to have their homes on the market longer because, payments are higher, rates are higher, right? So now they're going to be sketchier. They might be thinking, well, should I buy or not? Usually when you have more properties on the market, it does well for buyers because there's more options. But it seems like we're in a seller's market. Do you think that that's going to change, where we're going to start to come back the other direction, and because of rates going up? What do you think?
I mean, they would have to go up quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, right now we're at about a month, about 30 days of inventory, if not a little bit less. Okay. Now, once you start putting in a criteria of a certain type of property, you really back yourself in a corner with no opportunities, nothing available, right?
Sure.
In order to get to a buyer's market, we need to be at 3.5% or 3.5 months of inventory.
Oh, inventory. Right now we're about a month.
30 days. Wow. Yeah, or less. So we need to have a huge uptick in listings to hit the market, to flood the market. But there are so many buyers, they're going to be absorbed like this.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So it's going into 2022. It's going to be, I think it's going to be the same. And having the conversation with people now saying, hey, look, you know what? Right now, today's the price of this home is $600,000. And you wish you bought it in 2019.
Sure.
Right? When it was $50,000 less.
Yeah.
Having the same conversation in 2020, it's going to be $50,000 more.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like this. If you're going to buy a house, you have to be willing to come out here. You have to be willing to spend a little more money in this current market. I don't, for you, what you're saying to me, and this is kind of what I'm thinking, is if it does go that other direction where we start to see more inventory, I don't know what's going to trigger that. The only thing I can think of is rates. But right now, it's going to be a market where you have to come in knowing that you're going to have to be overpaying for a house. You may have to waive your appraisal contingency. Do you think it's worth it in the long run? I think a lot of people think, well, is it or isn't it? Well, if you're coming from other states, they have a higher, so.
Well, think about it this way. So we've been creating new bottoms since last year, right? The floor for pricing has been increasing. So now, even though you overpaying for a property, 10 to 15, 20,000, that's the new comp.
Isn't it crazy?
Right?
Yeah.
That's the new comp. So everything moves with that last sale.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't see it stopping. So we'll end the show. But Joey Andron is Chuckett's. He's the right-hand person for Chuckett's. He's the team lead. He's running the show a little bit over there. And yeah, I mean, you got a lot of good information, Joey. So it's good to always bring you in. We'll bring you in a couple of weeks, maybe, down the road here, we can get some more insight about what's going on. I know you're a busy guy, so I want to say thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
And that's it. Other than that, you can always go to, what's the website? Chuck's website. Go ahead and put that out there.
It's lvhomeexperts.com.
lvhomeexperts.com. You can go there. That's where a lot of this inventory. One last thing, Joey. A lot of people think that when you go on there, that's actually Chuck's inventory, right? Or it's like, and listen, he does do well, but I'm just saying that's not his inventory, right? So
no, yeah, it's a search engine. So
Yeah.
a lot of the listings on that page are our company listings, but we do have access to everything here in the city, and we have access to off-market properties as well.
All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll have another great episode coming up. We got on Saturday. If you guys want to tune in on Saturday, we're going to bring a real estate attorney on here. I'm going to talk with him. So if you guys have any other questions, make sure you comment in the comment section below. Also, you can get a hold of us outside studio at lvhomeexperts.com. For Joey, you can go to my website, vegasloanguru.com. Also, you can follow me right here if you dflve.com. And we'll see you guys Saturday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll see you then. Thank you for watching an episode of the French Workbench podcast. If you want to tune into past episodes, please subscribe to my channel now. Also, if you want to look at our audio-only options, we do have iTunes and SoundCloud.